Let's introduce the third element of Start with Heart. We call this Refuse the Sucker's Choice. There's no better illustration of this and no more tragic that I can think of than something that took place in 1961. The Kennedy administration approved a plan at that time to invade Cuba. 1,300 special forces under CIA authority made the attempt. At the end, 114 were dead, and 1,189 were prisoners of Fidel Castro. It was not only a terrible loss of life, but a horrible loss of credibility for the young Kennedy administration. Prior to the decision to go forward with that plan, two of Kennedy's closest advisors, Dean Rusk and Bill Moyers, were walking in the Rose Garden. One turned to the other and said, "We got a meeting coming up where we're supposed to give our final recommendations on the Bay of Pigs invasion. What are you going to say?" The other said, "Well, I think the plan is doomed." The first said, "I asked, what were you going to say?" The answer? "He's a young president. He needs to know his cabinet is loyal. I'm going to tell him I support it." That was a sucker's choice. A sucker's choice is a false choice between two bad alternatives. In this instance, it was a false choice between being loyal and being candid. When facing sucker's choices, the dialogue smart always question the question. They stop and ask, is it possible to do both? For example, is there a way I could be both loyal and candid with President Kennedy? During crucial conversations when our brains aren't quite functioning at peak capacity, we tend to make simplistic choices like these. We tend to make sucker's choices, and they land us in predictable areas, silence and violence. The ultimate sucker's choice is, should I be silent or should I be rude? Should I be aggressive? Should I be controlling? Did you hear that in this advisor's decision-making process? Some common sucker's choices are, should I be honest or loyal? Should I try to win or should I let you win, roll over for you? Should I hold my ground or should I admit your point? Think to yourself in your crucial conversation, did you make any sucker's choices? Did you choose silence or violence? And if so, what almost unconscious choices led you in that direction? Another example, should I say what I really think or should I make it safe for you to share? Again, a sucker's choice. The dialogue smart stop and ask, is there a way to do both? Another example, should I take all the blame or should I heap it on you? Again, a sucker's choice. Is it possible there's a way to both acknowledge my part in a problem and have a candid conversation about yours? Is it possible I could be both honest and loyal? In fact, is honesty perhaps one of the best ways to demonstrate loyalty if it's done well? Is it possible for me to find a way for both of us to win? The dialogue smart notice when they start making sucker's choices. The rest of us during crucial conversations tend to make them rather hastily. We make them almost unconsciously. So the skill becomes stopping when we're moving towards silence or violence and articulating the sucker's choice that we're about to make. Give it words. Give it a voice. Why would that be useful? Well, let's ask that question about the prior skill. Why would it be useful to stop and notice when my motives shift? Why would that help? The answer is that the motive you can't see controls you. But as soon as you become aware of it, you can change it. The same is true of these mental choices we make, these strategy choices to move towards silence or violence. When we're unconscious of the choice we're making, those choices control us. As soon as we can articulate them, we put ourselves in a position to choose differently, to choose dialogue. And that is the goal. One day, one of my sons came home from practice in tears. I asked what was wrong. He said, "Well, at practice they keep picking on me because I'm the smallest. They red belly me, they pull my shirt up and slap my stomach until it turns red." After listening to him, when it was clear he wanted to do something to make this stop, I asked him what he had already tried. "Well, nothing, of course. What can I do? If I say something, I'll look like a crybaby and they'll do it even more." Do you hear the sucker's choice? Can you see how the way he worded his choice left him with silence as his only option? Can you help him articulate his sucker's choice? So, son, it sounds like you think you have to choose between either doing something to get them to stop or maintaining their respect. Is that right? Well, yeah. Well, I wonder if it might be possible to find a way to speak up and maintain their respect. I wish you could have seen his face as I asked the question. It's almost as though lights went on in his head. His brain was engaged by a new question. It started to look for solutions. I presented a positive challenge to it, and so it looked, and pretty soon his face scrunched up again. And he said, "Well, if I did talk to the whole group, they wouldn't listen to me anyway." See what he did there? He moved to another sucker's choice, another rationale that will move him towards silence and resentment and potentially even quitting the team, which he didn't really want to do. Do you have to choose between talking to the whole team and saying nothing? Well, now his eyes went on again, and he started coming up with ideas. And pretty soon he said, "Well, as a matter of fact, I know so-and-so who was really small last year, and he got picked on, and the rest of the team really respects him. I bet I could pull him aside and share the problem with him." Do you see where he's going now? By recognizing the sucker's choices we're making and reframing them as an and rather than an or, we free ourselves of easy outs like silence and violence. We open up the possibility of dialogue, and we engage the creative powers of our brain in a search for a way to achieve it. The next time you're concerned about giving tough feedback to your boss and you're moving towards silence and resentment, try to reframe the sucker's choice that you might be making. Ask yourself, is there a way I could show complete support for the boss and be entirely candid about this concern I have? What about another team who's been unreliable? Is there a way we could sit down with them and have a healthy conversation and really solve this problem? What about a discussion with a loved one about concerns you have in how you're disciplining your children? Is there a way for me to really share how I feel about the way we're approaching this discipline question and be patient and respectful to my loved one? So once again, what is the benefit of noticing when our motives change or when we make sucker's choices? The answer? The motive you can't see and the choice you can't articulate controls you. If you want to be back in control, if you want to be able to find a way to dialogue rather than suffering in silence or violence, the only path back is a change of heart and mind. And that begins by noticing the motives that now control us and the choices that are dominating our decisions. When you can recognize them, you can choose otherwise. Change your heart by asking, what do I really want? For me, for others, or for the relationship? And then acting as if you really do. And by reframing sucker's choices as an and. How can I be both honest and loyal? How can I win and help you win? How can I clarify what I really think on this point but still listen to your points? How can I acknowledge my contribution to these problems but still point out some of the concerns I have with you? How can I do both? We started this principle talking about Greta. What caught our attention about people like her was their tremendous behavioral agility. When emotions seemed destined to hurl them in one direction, they would pivot quickly and move in another, more healthy one. We wondered for a while if this is just incredible masking skills, if they're just great actors. We found that they're not. That in fact these are some of the most sincere and direct people on the planet. So how do they make the change? What gives them this behavioral agility? They start with heart. They work on themselves first and others second. They focus on what they really want, and they refuse sucker's choices.